We're going to be working with quadratic expressions for quite a few lessons now. We're going to use it for the rest of Unit G, and then we are going to use it into Unit H. Do you have your notes? No, we don't need anybody on the front. You can do it? Okay. So this is an expression that you are going to get very familiar with in a quadratic expression. It's ax squared plus bx plus c. So what's kind of goofy about this? What's goofy about this is when we see that word quadratic, what number comes to mind when we think of a quadratic? 4. Quad usually means 4. But when we look at this expression, does our expression have 4 parts? How many parts does it have? 3. Okay, Nemo. It has 3 parts. What do we call something that has 3 parts? Trinomial. So it's a little goofy because we're going to think about that word quadratic as 4 parts, but this is really a trinomial, and it is a special trinomial. Okay. I'm going to use 3 colors today. I'm going to use orange, green, and blue. If you'd like to use the same colors, you can. Okay, I'm going to use orange for my A, green for my blue, green for my B, and I'm going to use blue for my C. So if you want to use the same colors, you can, or you can find 3 other colors. You could use highlighters if you'd like to. Alright, so for our first example here, we're going to identify the A, B, and the C. So our directions are to identify A, B, and C. When we identify A, B, and C, we're looking for just the coefficients, just the numbers that go with those parts. A always goes with x squared. B always goes with just the x. And C is always the constant, the number without a variable. Right, so for our first example, we're going to have 3x squared minus 6x plus 2. And I want to know what is my A, B, and C. So my A always goes with x squared, which if it's written in standard form, A should always come first. So which number goes with that x squared? What is that coefficient? 3. Good. So my A is 3. You got it. My B goes with the x. What's my coefficient of the x? Good. How did you know it was going to be a negative 6? Because of that minus. That minus turns into a negative. So B is negative 6. All right, and what is our C? What is our constant, our number by itself? Positive 2. Good. So just 2. Don't have to write that plus 2. We can just write 2 when it's a positive. All right, I'm going to do my next example right next to it just to save some space rather than doing it one on top of each other. All right, this one we have x squared plus 4x minus 9. Again, we want to identify our coefficients and the constant. So the coefficient of the x squared is a. The coefficient of just the x is b. And that constant is c, the number without a variable. So with a is that number in front of the x squared. I want to look in front of that x squared in this space here.
It's a 1.
How did you know it was going to be a 1, Dalwin? There's nothing. And if there's nothing there, do we at least have a x squared? Yeah, there's 1 there. So there's 1. Okay, what goes with our b? What is the coefficient of just the x? 4. And our c is our constant, our number by itself. Good, that minus turns into a beautiful negative. It's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. It's now, instead of a minus, it's a negative 9. We're going to do one more of these examples. And then we're going to move on to factoring, and we just have 2 of those examples. Pretty quick today, but then the practice is, the quick check is, I don't know. It's either going to be really easy or really hard. Who knows? We'll find out. All right, in this one we have 7 plus 3x squared. Now these x's, do they all have to be x always? No. What else could they be? Instead of an x, what could we use? A y. We could use a m. Okay, we're just so happy to use an x in each of these right now. So again, I want to find my a, my b, and my c. All right, a. Which number is going to be my a?
7.
Oh, I heard 7 and the 3. Why is it 3? A is the coefficient of x squared. Where is my x squared? It's actually last this time, so it goes with that 3. 3 would be that answer. So you have to be really careful. If your expression isn't written in standard form, you have to be really careful about how you rearrange that. All right, my b goes with the x. What number here is with my x? 3 is with the x squared. There's none. There are no x's. So what number represents no x's? There are none. 0. And what is my constant, my number with no variable? 7. Nice job. You guys crushed that. All right, like I said, this quadratic, you're going to get really, really familiar with it because we're going to use it throughout the rest of the Unit G. And then Unit H is all about quadratics. All right, so next up we have factoring. We're going to be factoring today. Factor x squared plus bx plus c. Remember, factoring means to break apart using multiplication. So it's actually doing what we did last chapter, but we're going to go backwards. Last chapter, we gave you a multiplication problem, and we told you to multiply it. And either you could use that distributive property, or you could use that box area model, and you would find that trinomial at the end. Today we're going to start with the trinomial, and we are going to factor it out into 2 parts that we're multiplying. Okay. So when we do this, when we factor, we're going to have that quadratic. This one, we're going to start with no a. But really, what number is that a when we don't see that a? A 1. And today we're going to start with that. Next week, we're going to have a different number in front. But today, that first number is always going to be a 1. So if I squared plus bx plus c. Okay, I'm going to use the same colors I used before. B is my green. C, blue. What we're going to look for is what we did in our warm-up today. We're going to look for two numbers that when I multiply them, it equals C. It equals that constant. But then I have to think of the two numbers added together have to make my B. Oh, I was going to do B and put regular pencil and shit it in. Oh my goodness.
What happened?
I don't know. Just a disaster, apparently. Okay, whatever we get in this first box here, we're going to say x plus that number. And then whatever we get here, we're going to put that in the next binomial, x plus a number. Okay, we're going to do this with two examples. The first example will take time to understand why is it that C and that B. The second example, we'll just practice getting our answer. Okay, so this is actually example number 2 for today. We are going to factor the quadratic x squared plus 13x plus 42. So we have to write two equations to solve here. We're going to have that multiplying equation, and we're going to have an adding equation. Okay, we wanted to multiply to the C to equal our value of C. Which one of these numbers is our C? 42. So we wanted to multiply to 42. But we wanted to add up to our B. What is our B? 13. So at this point, we look at our factor sheet. All those pairs for 42. And we're going to decide which one of those pairs makes 13 when we add. Because we know for this multiplying, here's all those options. Alright, does 1 plus 42, does that equal 13? Nope. What about 2 plus 21? 2 plus 21 is 13? No, that'd be 23. What's 3 plus 14? 17. That doesn't work. What about 6 plus 7?
13.
Yeah, that's 13. So 6 times 7, does that equal 42?
Yeah.
Yep. Does 6 plus 7 equal 13? Yep. Okay, so now for my answer, I want to write this as two binomials that I'm multiplying. And when I'm adding on to that x are going to be the two numbers we found that works for both. So one of them is going to be x plus, what's one of the factors? 6. And the other factor is 7. And that's my answer. All right, a little bit of a flashback of if you're like, what the heck did we just do? What we just did is last chapter in Unit F, we would have gotten this problem, x plus 6 times x plus 7. We would have started with the answer. And then I would have told you to multiply them. If we're going to distribute, what would we multiply first? Four. First we would do x times x. We go pew. And what is x times x?
What?
X squared. We have 2 x's. Then I would do x times 7. 7x. What else would we multiply? 6 times x is 6 times 7 is 42. This is from Unit F. This is what I already asked you to do last unit. We're just kind of understanding where this is coming from. All right, now to get our final answer, what do I need to do? Yep, and it's in standard form, but then we need to combine those like terms, that's 7x and 6x. So you get x squared plus, what's 7 and 6? 13x plus 42. So last chapter, we started with that multiplication problem, and we wrote our answer as a trinomial. This chapter, we're starting with the trinomial, and we're writing it as a multiplication problem. So we're just taking what we did last chapter and reversing it. Okay? That's the big idea. This you do not have to do in this chapter. I'm not going to ask you to show this work every time. I just wanted to show you where this is coming from. All right, we have one more problem we're going to do together, and then you do have a quick check today. So this is number 3. Number 3, we have h squared plus 7h minus 44. Because our leading coefficient, our a, is a 1, we can just write this as 2 equations. One that's a multiplying equation, and one that's an adding equation. What am I going to multiply to? The c. What is my c? Negative 44. But what do I want it to add up to? 7. Now, when it multiplies to a negative, we're really going to think subtraction. And if you're not sure, that's okay. Take a look at your blue sheet for 44. Since that's the multiplying problem, that's where we look here. If you go through and you add all of them and it doesn't work, that probably tells you that we're going to end up subtracting. So I'm going to just use my calculator real quick and think 1 plus 44. I need that. Is 1 plus 44 7? Nope. Okay, what's my next pair? 2 and 22. Does 2 plus 22 equal 7? Nope. What about 4 and 11? Nope. So adding didn't work. But instead of using adding, what's the other operation we could use? Subtracting or negative. So 1 minus 44, does that equal 7? 2 minus 22. Okay, 4 minus 11. Yeah, but I got a negative 7, so I'm going to have to think about that negative just a second. But I know it's going to be 4 with 4 and 11. But I know one of them has to be negative. Do I want my bigger number? Do I want more positives for my answer or more negatives? Yeah, my answer is positive when I add. So because I want more positives, which one should be negative? The 4. So for our final answer here, we're going to write our two binomials. This time instead of x, what variable did we use? H. So they both start with H. What goes with my first H? Negative 4. I could write plus negative 4, but because it's a negative, how else could I write it? Minus 4. And what goes with my second H? 11. Now, could I have switched these around and done 11 and negative 4? Yep. So you could also write it as H plus 11, H plus negative 4, or H minus 4. Either one is right. Okay, so when you type in your answers today, doesn't matter which order you put it in, just depends on how you thought about it.